everyone. It's Jeremy, your youth pastor here at Groton Bible Chapel, with another devotional thought for you guys this weekend. For the next 2 weeks, our lessons are going to be a little bit different. We are taking a break for the next 2 weeks from the Gospel Project. We'll hop back into them in February, but we want to take these next 2 weeks, kind of go over 2 lessons that are really important to talk about, but we don't really spend a ton of time talking about in church. And so this first one is this idea of race. This is something that the media has talked a lot about recently, and we haven't done a great job talking about it in church. And so we want to talk about it in church today. And some of you may not feel comfortable talking about this for a few different reasons. Maybe it's because people that tend to talk about this are getting upset over it. Maybe you feel like, well, I'm not racist. I don't have to deal with race. And so you just kind of ignore it. But we think it's important to talk about race. And the biggest reason why it's important to talk about race is because God cares about race. So this isn't something that's new to our generation. This isn't a new concept by any means, but looking down on people and judging people and having opinions on people based on skin color and race and background goes back thousands and thousands of years even. And it's something that even in the Bible it addresses. In Jesus' time, one of the big things that were brought up is this idea of Jew and Gentile, of God's chosen people, the Israelites, versus those that weren't God's people, that weren't descendants of Abraham. And so we want to look at a passage today. It's found in Galatians chapter 3. So what we want you to do is just read along with us here. Galatians chapter 3, verses 26 through 28. And it says, "For through faith you are all sons of God in Christ Jesus. For those of you who were baptized into Christ have been clothed with Christ. There is no Jew or Greek, slave or free, male, female, since you are all one in Christ Jesus." See, when Christ came, he took down all the things that disunify us, all the things that make us different, and said that we are all one. But what we have to do is realize that this doesn't mean being colorblind or ignoring race. Instead, we should appreciate race. We should look at others not just for what defines them, but look at them the way God sees them. See, we are reminded in Genesis that we are all created in the image of God. That regardless of background, regardless of how we look differently, we are all representing God. And so instead of this idea that we are all supposed to be one in the same, we're all called to be unified even through our differences. So how can you live this out? How can you kind of be an ambassador of this kind of change? Well, the first is not ignoring race. This doesn't mean turn a blind eye to it. It doesn't mean just viewing everyone the same, but it means recognizing how we are different and appreciating people for that. Another great way that we can do this is engage in conversations. Talk to people that may have different opinions than you. Talk to someone who is just different than you, looks different than you, has a different background than you do. Get to know people, not just for the assumptions that we have of them, but really get to know other people. And above all else, remind ourselves that we are called to be unified in Christ. That we are supposed to take those things that divide us and those things that separate us, be willing to lay them before God's throne and say, I want to be found in you, not in what I look like, not in my background, but found as a child of God. So we hope that's helpful. We have a few questions that you guys can go through with this lesson. Like I said, next week we're going to do another lesson very similar to this that are intended to be conversational. So don't just take this few minute video and just take it as you're done, but really engage in a conversation with someone. Talk to mom or dad, talk to a friend about how they view this. We are happy you guys joined us today. We look forward to see you guys again in person soon. Until then, stay safe.